Okay, so testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Let's turn our ringtone, media off. Let's put our phone to the side. We will start recording in about 5 minutes. Let's admit Mr. Senyo. Hi, Senyo-san. Oh, sorry, let me see why the volume is very low on my end. Alright, do you mind speaking again? Hello, hello. Okay, so we are going to be starting here in about a minute. Anybody that's happy to comment or say anything, you're more than welcome to. Senyo, you're the only person in here right now. So feel free to ask any questions in the chat or just voice them. That's perfectly okay. This is going to be more of an intimate, kind of like a drawing session between the people that join and me. So, and I'm going to be teaching you guys a lot about sketchbook habits. So feel free to ask any questions that you wish. All right. Okay, we are going to start recording in... Oh, I just got your audio working perfectly. Hi. Hey, how's it going, man? So right now it's only you and me, since people have not joined, and it's only a very few amount of subscribers that have joined so far. So you're gonna get a lot of one-on-one, which is awesome. Okay, so let me do the little intro for the video, and then we'll continue on as if we had not started recording. Okay. Hello everybody, my name is RODGON. I am an artist and an illustrator, and today I am going to teach you a couple things that you can do with your sketchbooks. Well, joining me is going to be one of our subscribers, and if you would mind saying hello to everybody, please.
Hello there. I'll say quick hello. Hi, nice to meet you.
Oh, nice to meet you, Senyu. Just for privacy purposes, I'm going to not include the audio, like the video feed for you, so that you don't get harassed by like random people online. Okay, so we're gonna keep it more towards the audio side of things. So, okay, thank you first of all for joining us tonight. And do you have any questions for me before we start? Once we start the lesson, it'll be kind of like a non-stop thing for a little bit. So if you have any questions, you have the privilege of asking anything you want.
Oh, nice. I'm super excited about what you're going to share. Very interested. And then having to do with what you're going, you might be covering this, but basically I would be interested in knowing, when you're talking about sketchbook habits, if you've fallen out of it for a while, how do you, or what did you find that helps you to push through that, or to find opportunities when you're not used to thinking about it anymore?
Yeah, let's write that down. So, how do you push through it when you haven't done it in a while? When you haven't done it in a while. All right, so that one's gonna go along with starting the habit again, and it's going to be the same way that you would restart any habit that you really want to adopt. So let's it's going to be covered in this lesson, so perfect. Awesome. Is there any other question that you have that you would like answered?
I guess for me personally,
yeah, just you could be just for yourself as well.
Oh yes. Being more of an introvert, I get very shy about drawing in public. And obviously you are very used to this. How have you found any suggestions that help people like me that are just very shy, just kind of to, I don't know, get used to, or maybe it's just a mental thing of just doing it anyways? Or do you
See,
think that helps in that
the
regard?
thing is, when you go out and do you draw, it is a very, very it brings anxiety to you because people are judgmental, right? So if people see your art, you might feel like they might judge you, and then they might there. That's the tingly feeling inside that makes you go like, especially if you're not very confident in your drawings so far, or you feel like something's off, or you could be better, or any way, shape, or form feel like you're not performing at an optimal level, you're going to maybe feel these feelings of anxiety, especially when you have to perform live. And essentially, going out to draw at coffee shops and stuff like that is performing live because people are going to be curious and they're going to be looking and they're going to be, like people just do that. So that might be the reason why you're a little bit more reluctant to go out and sketch in public. But what you can do is first get little tiny sketchbooks. Uh, these are sketch wallets, which are little sketches, like sketchbooks that have like wallet things in them. I once I got this, I could carry a sketchbook anywhere. So now I have a pen that I can draw anytime that I have any little bit of time. Right? So that means that I can hide myself in the corner of a coffee shop and then like not have people will think that I'm just looking in my wallet and I'm doodling. So I'm not too concerned about people going over and staring. It's not a big thing that's just out there for everybody to see. But I highly suggest to everyone that's listening here or that listens to this recording will be that you gotta really learn to lose the shyness that comes along with doing art and being judged. And that comes with being really proud about what you're doing. And normally, when we're artists, don't really get to feel very proud because we see so many other people do some awesome things online and stuff like that. And then it just ends up being like, oh, well, my art is not that great. And then we start putting ourselves down. But when you remember that you are an artist, you have the power to visualize random stuff and make them come alive just because you have the ability to visualize something and imagine something. So that is like already putting you a huge, huge advantage over most people out there. Most people see what you do as magic. Like somebody will never be able like that doesn't draw or has any capability in art, which is a lot of people by the way. They see something that you draw in your sketchbook and they think that's magic because for the same reason that I can't look at like a computer code and be like to me that's magic. I don't know how a phone works, I don't know how it's programmed. So somebody that knows that stuff is just amazingly magical to me. Now, you are an amazingly talented person just by being able to create art. If you are able to create art that's appealing to people, that's even better. That's like putting you in like a top like small percentile. But, how do you get there, right? How do we get there? How do we get there from drawing like nothing to getting like, let me show you guys a couple of my very first sketchbook. My first sketchbook was straight up a composition book. This is the moment that I got this, I was already in college for art. So it was very interesting to go back once I like acquired some skills and see what level I was when I started college. And this is let me explain something. I didn't start drawing until I was about 18 or 19 years old. So to me, these drawings were amazing. These drawings were like graffiti style, yeah, or this, yeah, and I can draw cartoons like this, yeah. And the moment that I would draw one thing that I liked, I would repeat that a million times. I tried my hand at like storytelling and stuff like that, but I wasn't very good at it. I couldn't even move a little beanbag properly. Right? Because I didn't know the concepts of perspective, anatomy, or all that stuff. At this point, it was more so about just understanding that I needed to get more time and I needed to be able to. Oh, let me admit some people. All right, Brian is joining. Hello, Brian. I am sorry that I did not see the notification. Welcome into the chat. Okay, so we were talking about like your sketchbooks have a purpose, and it's not necessarily just to help you, like draw, which is the very basic purpose of it. But there is a way that you can use your sketchbooks to create an accelerated way of learning that is going to help you considerably in a very short amount of time. And let me just get together a couple different examples of how I used my sketchbook. The very first sketchbook that I decided that I was going to use for learning was this one. This was done back in 2014. Back then, I dedicated some words to myself. It's been a while since I have tried to complete a sketchbook, much less with all cool drawings. This will be an interesting, and I hope I can do better than just doing the same things over and over. This isn't for show. I have no one to impress. I just hope to become a better artist with this, and I hopefully am able to do what I want to do and just improve. That is the goal. That is the only objective of this, and I plan to accomplish it. Okay? So I decided to kind of say that stuff to myself so that I would be just honor bound, or like more like having to rely on being like I had to do it for myself, right? So I set out that every page was going to teach me a different topic. Every page should teach me a lesson. Every page should teach me or refine something new. That is essentially my mentality going into this. At first, I was still drawing with pencil. And, pencil allows you a lot of liberty because you can erase. So pencil is a fantastic tool for people that start sketching. When people just get their sketchbook, they never want to mess up. They want to keep everything nice and clean and perfect. But that defeats the purpose of your sketchbook. Your sketchbook is not your portfolio. Your sketchbook is straight up just your sketchbook. Your sketchbook is meant to learn, to teach you things, so you can refine things, concepts, think them out. Not necessarily create just amazing pieces left and right. If you want to do that, yeah, that's also really awesome and perfectly fine. But try to keep a different sketchbook for your concepts and then have your main sketchbook for your pretty illustrations. So far, Brian and Senyo, any questions? Feel free to unmute yourselves and ask anything along the way if you guys want. If you guys want me to stop and explain something else a little bit more, feel free to ask as well. Okay? So, the first things that I noticed very quickly was the fact that I was repeating the same mistakes over and over. I was just generating a lot of art, but I was not really understanding the things that I was drawing. So I was just copying other people's artwork. I was trying to refine by seeing other people and then just like drawing it, but not trying to understand it. At this point, I did not understand the concepts of perspective and anatomy as much as you think I should by this point. Honestly, in the last 7 years, I have grown exponentially because of the thought process that I have applied. This is one of the first instances of Archie. If you guys are, my fans, you guys should probably actually know him, and that's one of the first versions of him ever made. Very quickly, I started realizing that I would retain much more information if I did the same concept but applied differently, and then trying to apply that concept for my own art. So every single time that I would draw something from somebody else, I would immediately try to apply it to myself. So I would draw a couple things from reference and then try to see if I could actually replicate what I drew. And that was step one, understanding a little bit more about what you're drawing. So in this case, I think it was like these 3 drawings that were from the actual reference, and then everything else was just done trying my best to replicate what I saw. At this point, I'm also just practicing with pen. You will notice a gigantic difference between when I started and where I am now when it comes down to penmanship. It's just insane, like the difference, it's just nutty. And the thing is, back then, this was taking me as long as this takes me to draw now. So you can see a huge, gigantic leap by just a few years in time. Again, trying to replicate things that I see in comics, and not to go through like the whole sketchbook like that, because it's not necessarily a sketchup tour. But you will see that a lot of the concepts were really rough, and I was still using pencil because I had not yet decided that I wanted to fix my line work. So a lot of concepts, but a lot of just drawing with no real purpose. I was still, kind of generating a concept to page, but it was not necessarily like very much applied, right? So this was the first one. Boom. It was down the drain. I was really happy, and it took me from June to when? From September. So this took me 6 months. The first one took me 6 months or more. Now let's jump ahead about 5 years to 3 years. We'll jump ahead 3 years, and we'll see the difference that everything did. So at this point, I am generating cleaner art with just pen. My art is getting to the point where it's understandably cleaner, so I'm able to apply this to more of a stylized approach. At this point, I'm trying to get into pinup work, but again, at this point in time, I'm not familiar with a bunch of concepts that are very necessary. At this point in my career, I was not aware of how the facial structures worked because I was still using stylized eyes. I was still using stylized noses instead of thinking about how things were built. So you'll see a lot of really cool pinups, but there's something off about them. I've gone through these again, and there's just something off that I can tell now because I studied anatomy now. So, but at this point, I also like to tell people, especially if you're trying to get into comics, journal your life. Make your life into a form of entertainment for people. If you do this, it makes it so people will come back to your page to keep on seeing what you're doing. As long as you present your life, and everybody's life is interesting, you just have to find that angle that makes it fun. And that is a very fun way to look back into your sketchbooks and remember things kind of like you would a picture, right? But every drawing here is a little bit more refined because I wanted to make this pretty. This time around, I wanted to make almost every page just look like a pretty sketchbook. And I believe that I think that this one's the one that you guys are going to get as a monthly gift. So at the end of the month, at the end of October, I'm going to give you guys an entire sketchbook scanned so you guys can actually enjoy it as a digital ebook for reference. So this might be one of the ones that I do for you guys. So in this one, I decided that I was going to use it more like a collage as well. I was using different papers and just taping them in there, right? The idea of your sketchbook being a portfolio would look more along the lines of this. Very pretty sketches, very refined, very finished illustrations for every single page. Now, this book took considerably longer than the other one. Mostly because every page was taking a considerable more time. And I was using other materials like markers and highlighters were not necessarily a thing so much, but I got like a set of markers and I just went crazy with them, right? I wanted to use the materials I had in hand. So this one was more so of that finished, refined sketchbook type of thing. Boom. So that's the other way that you can refine it. Once you get to a certain level of comfort, go for that. But if you really want to get better, and if you really want to like really accelerate the way you learn, I'm going to show you a couple of examples of how you should approach this. Now, this book is an Illo sketchbook. This one had thicker pages, so I, also did pretty sketches, but in a different way. So I'm going to show you guys that. After we go over RODGON's rules for a successful sketchbook. You guys ready for this? Okay, so I write these down quite often in my sketchbooks, especially since I share these with other people. Number 1, the sketchbook shall be small enough to carry around with you. Now, that is very, dependent on what your daily tasks are. For example, I have no queries about carrying a big sketchbook everywhere I go because I don't really have anything else that I'm doing besides drawing. So my main thing all day is drawing a big sketchbook. That's the thing I carry. That on an iPad. Perfect. But if you have a need to carry something smaller, that's what little other sketchbooks are for. There's a bunch of variety of them, and then all you got to do is find one that opens up entirely. If they open up flat, that's like the best. Like, there's nothing I hate more than sketchbooks that crimple up in the middle and I can't use the pages. I hate that so much. So much. Okay? So I try to avoid any sketchbooks that have bindings like that. So let's talk about the other tools. Test our tools to see what works. I always do that at the beginning of my sketchbooks. I try to make a test page as the first page so that I don't feel the pressure of it having to be perfect. The first page being perfect is a concept that makes so many poor little sketchbooks stay without use. Okay? So many sketchbooks are just abandoned because they just don't get that beautiful first page. So to avoid that, I just use it as a test page. I use that to test what markers are going to do, maybe what approach and what things I'm going to be trying to focus on. And then I just do a whole page of just blah. That looks pretty because there's color, but it just has blah. A bunch of like random doodles, okay? So that takes away the pressure, and it also sets a precedent for the rest of the sketchbook to be a nice learning tool that's going to have these main focuses on. It just keeps you nice and on point. Number 3, choose an overall theme to focus on. In this one, it was going to be storytelling, but it ended up being a lot of concept work. It ended up being a lot of concept work, especially after Little Bubs came into play. Oh my god, I felt so much air of inspiration, and I still have to refine this concept a lot more. But that came with so much. And I also started working on a couple other projects, and soon enough this led to a really cool just inspiration book. 4, remember to use your sketchbook for learning and not just epic pieces. Again, this is subjective to what you really want to get out of the sketchbook, but it's really, really important that you make sure that you use it for learning. Even if you are doing refined pieces, learning is the first thing that you should remember with your sketchbooks. So you should not be afraid to push an envelope or anything like that, okay? So number 5, each page should teach or refine a part of your skills. Again, we already talked about that. You should learn with each page. Number 6, experiment with new styles, techniques, and tools. In this case, it's about pushing the boundaries about what you know, what you can do, what you can't do, and that's going to be the thing that helps you, you know, advance. Because if you don't do it here, if you don't do it in your sketchbook and you try to push yourself in your finished pieces, it's going to be very tough. And, you know, mistakes happen, and then you don't want to have to go back and redo something a million times because you tried something and it didn't work out. So that's why we try it in our sketchbooks first. Don't be afraid to share your art. That's just a general art guideline. You know, we got to get that fear out of us. 8, it doesn't have to be perfect. Leave good and bad drawings in your sketchbook. They teach you things. Yes, bad sketches, especially if you acknowledge them, is going to teach you something really valuable. It's going to teach you not to do that again. And it's good because when we go back and look at things, we need to know that that's happening. Okay, for my people in the Zoom meeting, it seems like we might be running out of time. So I might send you guys a relink if this dies down, and then we will just jump back on. Okay, so if this ends the thing, don't worry, I will jump right back on, send you guys the link to the next chat, and then we'll join like that. Sound good? Good. Okay, so the next one is number 8. No, number 9. Take notes on any bad sketches and try to correct them with references right away. So what I mean by that, let me see if this one's not something that you can do from reference, but it's something that's going to teach you exactly what I mean. In this case, I'm drawing my character, Mr. Det. I was trying to develop the character look and the way that he's going to look through his little evolutions. Now, every single time that I did something that would not look right, immediately a note, and then trying to correct it, and then the next one, and then finally when you get it, it's consistently applied through the next couple drawings that you do, right? The same thing that you can do with absolutely any one of your sketches. You can, if your arm is too long, write it down. If something's wrong, if something's right, if something's pretty, just make notes of everything. Whenever something is wrong, if you make notes, it's going to be in your brain a little bit better. Now, if you don't, you might repeat the same mistake over and over and over again. Okay? So you gotta just keep in mind that the way that we learn is by making mistakes and fixing them. So by acknowledging that, and that is the trick. That is honestly the biggest trick. Acknowledging the mistakes you make and giving yourself the ability to be critical enough of your work where you can be like, I need to fix that, but not give yourself enough grief to make yourself from drawing, is the balance that you're going to have to get to. Okay? So your sketchbook in general should be your biggest tool for learning. You do that by just using it to splash onto the world everything that you can possibly think of. By doing that, you build yourself a mental library. By adding mental library stuff to your mental library, you can draw from imagination. If you can draw from imagination, the only thing stopping you is how many ideas you can come up with. And if the only thing stopping you from drawing and being awesome is how many things you can come up with, well then, then the ball falls on you and your brain, and then, one less thing to worry about when it comes down to thinking like, why can't I draw? It shouldn't be because of your drawing skills. And, I also teach you guys how to get out of art lock. So now the last step that I want to talk about a little bit is the step that I find myself in. I have found that this last year, by doing these drawings on stream and teaching you guys how to draw, has been a huge reason that I'm able to improve so much lately. So I see gigantic leaps and bounds because every time that I try to explain something to you, it cements it more into my brain. So give that a shot as well. Do yourself a favor, make a little TikTok and explain art to people so that you can help, first of all, help the culture of teaching the next generation of artists and make their life easier so we can have amazing things down the line. You know, we don't hoard information in this little family. Okay? At this point, we share everything so that we make it easier for the next generation of artists to create amazing things. Because, you know, that's what's our duty. I like being a teacher, so that's something that I take very to heart. But I do highly believe that if something is able to be passed on from artist to artist, it should be in and explained in their own special way. Because so many people learn in different methods. Some people learn by just creating art over and over, repeating muscle memory and just adding to your mental library. That's some people. Some people just learn through writing and learning and reading. And then some other people like me need to understand what we're drawing. So I just obsess on it until I actually get it. That's the way that my brain works. So thank you all so much. Brian, Senya, thank you so much for joining me tonight. You guys are, thank you so much, first of all. Second of all, if you have any questions, this is the perfect time to ask them. Oh, one thing that I forgot to mention. The tools that you should be using to sketch should be simple, right? Unless you're trying to create amazing pieces of art, like gallery type pieces, carry something to highlight your art with. In this case, I like to use watercolors and ballpoint pen and highlighters. Super simple, cheap. It doesn't take any money to go out and sketch for me. There's no concern about, oh my God, am I gonna like dry my markers? I can pick up another highlighter at any store, another ballpoint pen in any place, or some little cheap watercolors at a 99-cent store. So that allows me to have the ability to sketch anywhere I go without any money constraints. Right? When you add things like Copics and expensive markers, right? It adds a cost that if you're really focusing on learning, you're going to go through sketchbooks like crazy. So if you are able to afford it and you have like no like monetary financial problems, hey, go for it if it's something you enjoy. This, I like to make it accessible to everyone. So everyone can afford $3 worth of art supplies. And that would literally fuel you for like a good month. The sketchbook, I like to honestly, if I could, I'd probably draw on Post-its a lot more than I should. But you can get little sketchbooks at the 99-cent store as well, at Walmart, relatively cheap. Or if you do want to get quality sketchbooks, you can get some Danique, Illo sketchbooks are really good too. The sketch wallets as well. And I will provide you guys discount codes for those as well, which is awesome because I get to do that for you guys. So that'll be in your little welcome package that comes along a little bit later tonight, okay? So Brian, Senyo, thank you all so much for being wonderful guests in the stream. Thank you for being some of my first subscribers. Like, honestly, that's... thank you so much. So much. You guys are awesome. I will be sending you guys a link to this stream for, on YouTube after I edit it, so I can, make sure that it's nice and pretty for you guys. And I am very thankful for the support you guys are providing. So thank you all so much. Have a wonderful night. You guys get to choose the theme for our next session, and I think you guys already agreed to that. So let's go. Awesome. Woo. All right. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day. See you guys soon.